So part of getting some experienced business owners at the front is also having some variety there as well. I've asked Christian to come along because his strength is in personal training, and I know we're talking about the shifts in the fitness industry and how you might have had a 1,200 member Anytime Fitness Club 5 years ago. You might have taken 250 grand or something out of that. That same club, it's harder now to have sort of 800 and 900 members and maybe 150 grand as profit. So what we're looking at is additional revenue streams. We're looking at other ways where we can perhaps make a little bit more profit from that existing model. And I'm really excited for Christian to share his experience in raising teams of personal trainers and delivering great results for the actual clientele that come into his studio at St Ives. So let's give him a traditional welcome, a proper clap. Thank you. And Christian's going to join John and a few other speakers on the panel shortly. Again, if you have questions as you go along, you can jump in. If not, just wait till the panel bit. Well done, mate. Do you want to hold on to that one? The little arrow on the right should send it forward.
Okay.
To your slides.
Alrighty. I don't do a lot of presentations like this. I tend to waffle a little bit if I get nervous, and I'm a little bit nervous, so bear with me. So a bit about myself. I'm very flattered to know that Steve asked me to speak today. I know that I'm amongst a lot of other people in the industry who have been in the industry for as long as me, and some a lot more than me as well. So what I'm sharing is all my experience that I've had with vision, and hopefully there's something you guys can take from it, that it's something that you see a lot of value in. A bit about me. So I'm going into my eighth year of being with Vision and in the industry. I started doing PT with Vision at St Ives. And was doing that for around 2 years. I would average around 70 PT sessions a week. And in that 2 years was nominated as a finalist for PT of the Year. And then from there, I started managing the St Ives studio, where I started out being a really, really crap manager and built my skills and got a little bit better. And we built that studio up to being, at its highest point, a top 3 studio in the national network. From there, Wendy, who is my former employer and now business partner, she also owned a different studio in Wahroonga, and she asked me to move across to that studio and start managing them. And we built that studio up and grew it over 50% in 9 months to be, at the time, a top 5 performing studio in the national network as well. I was there for about 2 years, and that business was sold to a member that I got started at St Ives who lost 55 kilos. So she bought that one. I stayed with her for the next 9 months, which was an interesting experience, having a previous member who I would see day in, day out for 2 years, then me have to mentor her to be a PT, then teach her how to manage a studio, and essentially kind of teach her to be my boss, which was a bit odd, but that was a good experience. So we generally had around 10 personal trainers in each studio when we were pumping around at our peak, about 500 sessions a week at both studio. And then a bit of my background, I really enjoy bodybuilding. I've competed in 2 bodybuilding comps, but there's a lot of other things that I really like doing too. I'm a keen runner, I'm a massive yoga fan, and if I get the chance, I'll always pick up a tennis racket as well. So what I wanted to share today, and what Steve has asked me to share, is my experience mostly from the personal training side of things, and my experience in that, and then also managing teams of other personal trainers as well. And to cover a few different topics, so questioning intensity, results versus friendship, nutrition accountability, and tracking and reviews. To kind of cover these and what makes a great personal training session, I think questioning intensity and accountability kind of come under an umbrella of, you could say, expectation. And in that, what are you setting up for your client in terms of expectation? And to do that, it's a combination of questioning, finding out what their expectation is, and also delivering them what they can expect from you as well. Once you have a really good understanding of what a person expects from that personal training session and what they expect from you, you have to also question them first, because there are some expectations they may have you just cannot deliver. You've also got to deliver them exactly what they can expect to get from you. Once you're really clear with the expectation from both ends, it actually becomes really difficult to deliver a poor session. Once you know the expectation, all you have to do is basically follow your word, do what you said you were going to do, and from there you can expect that person will walk away with a fantastic experience. And that's right from the get-go of what can they expect to do in that session, how can they expect to feel, what will you talk about to them with that talk about to them in that session, and what can they expect post-session as well, whether it be follow-up calls, follow-up texts, how they're going to feel after the session as well. Intensity is also part of the expectation, so finding out from them what kind of intensity do they want to achieve through the session, what do they want to, how do they want to feel, and you've also got to deliver for them what you feel they can expect from it too. Accountability I'll come back to. The results versus friendship. I think results should always be your absolute number one focus in any client-trainer relationship. And to be really upfront, this is, I think, a really subjective perspective. It's very subjective for me. My opinion is you don't necessarily develop friendships with your clients. You don't want it to cross that line where it becomes a really social friendship. I think the relationship you have with your client is the number two focus though. So you absolutely must have a really good relationship with your client, and whether that means you know your client's kids' names, to their favourite holiday destination, their strengths, their weaknesses. That relationship between trainer and client I think is really special, and it should also be a really open relationship. If anyone here has been PTing people for a long time, you've probably also had your client be really open with you about even some personal things, or they've told you some doozies. So it's a really special relationship you have, but in my opinion, once you cross that line and it becomes a social friendship, I feel your client will drop out pretty quick, and it's what I've observed and what I've seen quite often. There are probably a few exceptions here and there with some really long-term clients where it might sort of start to breach that friendship phase, but if it was my personal subjective opinion, I would avoid the friendship. The results is the focus. You may have a great relationship with that person, but ultimately if you're not getting the result for that person, the relationship will only carry that person as a client for so long. If you can get them results and you happen to have a great relationship, you'll have a client for life. Nutrition. So from our perspective with what we do at Vision, we are highly focused and highly specialised on weight loss. I would say about 90% of my clients that I have and that I've ever had are very, very focused on weight loss, and I have trained that other 10% fitness or sports specific, etc. as well. But the nutrition when it comes to weight loss, and also nutrition with everything else too, but I'm going to put special focus on the weight loss, is incredibly key. I still speak to a lot of members in consultations for membership and clients that I've had or have. When they've trained with other trainers, it still surprises me how much the trainers don't bring nutrition into the conversation. There's, I think, a lot of debate on how much a trainer can actually deliver in terms of nutrition as well. And what I basically tell people is we don't deal in micronutrients, we don't deal in conditions as well. If someone has diabetes or whatnot, I'm not really going to touch that area too much, and I will recommend they see a nutritionist or a dietitian. But in terms of macronutrients, we can tell people what they can be eating, even anecdotally even. So if it's a high carb bread versus a low carb bread, we can tell them and give them lots of information on how to eat better to lose weight, because at the end of the day, if I tell someone to have less or no pasta at night if they want to lose weight, they're not going to get sick as a result of that, they're not going to die. So you've still got a lot of leeway that you can provide people with information around nutrition, and from a weight loss perspective, nutrition is so important. So when I'm training with my clients and clients that I've had before, nutrition is a topic that we talk about every single session.